So, after an insane weekend, the Republican National Convention will be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin this week. And I want you to know that there's a reason the Republicans chose Wisconsin. And it's not because Donald Trump loves Milwaukee, like he's been saying, because he was already caught saying it was horrible, but because the Republicans need Wisconsin to get to 270 electoral votes to win the presidency. Wisconsin has been called the ultimate swing state. In 2016, it was Wisconsin that tipped the Electoral College to Trump. In 2020, it tipped the Electoral College to Biden. So playing that out, it's more than likely that Wisconsin will be one of the deciding states in the 2024 presidential election. And when you look at voting records, Wisconsin is a 50-50 state, if not Democratic leaning. But for years, because of the state's far-right Republican Supreme Court ruling endlessly for super conservative goals like insanely gerrymandered maps, eliminating drop boxes, stopping caregivers from returning absentee ballots for the disabled and the elderly, the state was just deeply run by far-right Republicans. If we based our elections solely on number of votes, the Democrats actually won Wisconsin in 2018 and 2020 and 2022. But thanks to the court, the Republicans ended up controlling 68% of their state legislature, and they used that unfair power advantage to further solidify their electoral dominance, despite the fact the Democrats kept getting more votes. Which is why, when Democratic Governor Tony Evers was reelected, the Republican legislature immediately took it upon themselves to strip him of most of his power. In 2022, the Republican-appointed election commissioner bragged about suppressing votes, saying he was particularly proud of the city of Milwaukee, a city that votes 80+% Democrat, because they had cast 37,000 less votes in the previous election, and most of the turnout reductions were in Black and Hispanic areas. This was an election commissioner, celebrating that he'd been able to stop people he did not like from voting. It was this type of behavior that made political experts call Wisconsin the playbook for Republican authoritarianism. And then along came Ben Wickler, the new chair of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, and he surrounded himself with people who believed in democracy, and they worked so incredibly hard to rebuild the Democratic operation and work to uphold it. Under Ben's leadership, the Wisconsin Democrats won the 2020 State Party of the Year. After they won an essential state Supreme Court victory, spearheaded a Biden win for the state, ran a successful campaign to prevent the Republicans from gaining a supermajority in the state legislature, despite the fact they were fighting an uphill battle because the system itself was rigged against them, and they fought back a recall vote to have their new Supreme Court justice removed from the court before she had even ruled on a single case. The Wisconsin Democrats got people out to vote. They inspired their volunteers and their staff. They made getting to the polls less complicated, and Wisconsin turned its democracy around, putting the will of the people back in the driver's seat. The story of Wisconsin is such a hopeful, inspiring American story, which is why the dark dystopian wannabe dictator and his party chose the state for their convention. They want Wisconsin to go red. They want to prove that all of that work and all of those voters standing up for free and fair maps and access to the polls can be undone, that people can be terrified into not voting, that their votes can be suppressed, that they can be so demoralized that they stop voting altogether. The Republicans want to prove that people don't really care about democracy, and they want to prove it in Milwaukee. And I think we should prove the opposite. So this week, as the RNC convention starts, I am asking you to support the Wisconsin Democrats, to support our right to vote and have our voices heard, to support Ben Wickler and his team so they can use your donations or your time or your efforts to keep Wisconsin out of the grasp of Donald Trump and Project 2025's America. As always, I have included a link here and in my bio to make it as easy as possible for you to help. Show the Republican Party that they can't stop democracy and fairness, that that train has absolutely left the station. Especially in Wisconsin. Check the link.